The Nigeria Police Force condemn those threats and those behind it in its entirety, without reservation. It is condemnable that what hitherto has played out on social media is now translating to real life, and it is affecting the whole of our national interests. It is ridiculous to say the professor kept us waiting for 2-3 hours, when in actual fact, his own life is under threat. None of your lives are being threatened. And if he did not turn up at all, there is no court you will charge him to. Because self-preservation is the first law of nature. If he doesn't feel safe, he won't turn up. And what is anyone going to do about it? And from the brief he gave, he mentioned a particular political party, posting his picture and urging his members worldwide to assail his lines and rob him of his peace of mind. This is uncivilized. Things are not done that way. And whoever is behind it will have his or her day in court. I want to request the professor to kindly submit a written complaint to this effect to the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State. Investigation will be launched, and those behind it will be brought to book. I give you my word on that, sir. And while your assignments continue, the Nigeria Police Force guarantees your safety. We will provide adequate security for your movement. We will provide adequate security for your residence. And whoever is stupid enough to attempt anything will pay with their lives. I give you my word. If you wish, try us. That is my word to those behind this blackmail and threats. They have displayed irresponsible ignorance in blaming the professor for non-functioning of beavers. Do they really know how the system works? And I want to request the professor not to be discouraged and not to be deterred in his commitment to national service. Nationalists before you have faced similar travails, and now you are counted among the legends for putting your life on the line in the service of your country. We salute your courage. We want to request, sir, that in the interest of the nation, you complete this process, because if you don't, the national coalition will be held up. And it can spin the entire presidential election itself into jeopardy. It is on this note, sir, that I plead that you kindly complete this process while we guarantee your safety, even after the whole election is over. I urge you kindly reconsider, sir.
Any further comments?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Omangma Harry, Chairman and Coalition Officer for Young Progressive Party, and also the Secretary of Rivers State Interparty Advisory Council. As political party leaders, sir, we condemn in totality the threat to your life. We've been in this hall with you for the past 3 days, and we can attest, one, to your simplicity and the way you handle matter. You have been so neutral in all of this. But why we want to, whilst we condemn the appeal to you, what's the need being here all these days, the night and all that, and we cannot conclude this process? So you too, you will not be satisfied. You will not be satisfied. You will not be pleased. Yeah, we know you, but we know that the Nigerian Police Force will be up to their duty to ensure that you are safe, because they are saddled with the protection of lives and property. Sir, reconsider, sir. Thank Thank you, sir.
Any further comments, please?
Well, my name is Barrister Kingsley Chukwu, State Collection Agent for PDP. You'll recall that yesterday I did commend the Commission and indeed also commended you, sir. I had to recall my experience from the distribution stage. I witnessed the distribution and also witnessed the entire proceedings here since we started collation. And so I commended you and the entire commission. Now, we want to plead with you to continue with collation. We've taken 21 AGs, just remaining 2. We also condemn whatever threats that has been meant to your life. We condemn it in totality. And I'm happy the CP has given every assurance. He spoke yesterday to a very big extent. And today he has also repeated to assure you of his readiness to provide the necessary police protection that you need. So I want to plead with you, sir, that since we have taken 21 AGs, as we complete it with the remaining ones so that we all go. You are doing this for the sake, for the entire country. That is my humble appeal and submission, sir. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Nenye Kocha. I represent AAC. Sir, I want to make an appeal to you. I want to make an appeal because indeed what you raised is a very sensitive matter, threat to life. But I'll draw your attention to what happened here yesterday. Somebody also was threatened, and the police kind of had to rise up and secure her and brought her to the hall. And then you stabilized everything, and we got through that very ugly incident. So I want to say that in the same fold, you should try and complete the assignment. Because this assignment is sensitive. This assignment will affect the nation if it's truncated at this point. We are sure that those who are raising threat to you through anonymous means do not want to be known for what they're doing. So please, sir, do the best you can so we'll have a complete process in Rivers State. Thank you.
Any other comments? In the absence of further comments, I want to re-emphasize that I still want to adjourn collations. Collations will be adjourned, like I said, until INEC, indeed represented by the REC, because in the assault I have received for the past 3 days, they have failed to recognize the difference between the scope and the REC of Rivers State. When there are crises in polling units, the attack is on my phone and myself that I'm responsible. When beavers fail to function, the attack is equally on my phone that I'm responsible. In fact, I'm responsible for the code errors and the rest of that, or malfunctioning of beavers. And so I believe that if the INEC, represented by REC, is able to address this misinformation, we can reconsider and convey. But for now, collation is hereby adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me appeal that let's give him some time. We'll come back to this place to address you. We are going to also release a press statement. we are going to talk to our headquarters. We'll get back to you. Thank you.
My advice, ladies and gentlemen, is that let us remain calm and let us not disperse. Let us remain seated. We will update you from time to time. And members of the press, you are a partner in national progress. And you are the representatives of the public in this room. And I am also aware that many of your channels are on live broadcasts. And you mold and shape public opinion. We do hope you all will give this sad development the perspective it desires and the perspective it deserves, so that all men and women of goodwill everywhere will rise as one to condemn this threat to the life of a public servant. It does not achieve anything really to resort to such crude tactics. Please help sensitize the public and let public opinion for good outweigh the one for evil. And then all humanity will be the winner for this singular reason. Thank you.
From Port Harcourt, especially against the backdrop of what we had been saying earlier on about the need for calming down and for access for people to take this matter from a pragmatic viewpoint. Dr. Oluwatola.
Thank you very much, Ladi. So what is happening in Rivers is regrettable and very sad, quite shameful. What's happening, and I wish the professor safety, and I wish his family well. I think that politicians, we need to recognize that elections are not a do or die affair. If you don't win this year, you can come back in 4 years, and desist from do or die tactics to have their way. And at the same time, I think the people also, like you've said, Ladi, need to be calm and not take the law into their hands. In the end, there are legal processes for resolving disputes. There are legal processes. That's why we are all equal under the rule of law. I know that it is true that politicians sometimes make us to feel that we are not equal under the rule of law, but that's the progression of democracy, that we continue, we resist the urge to devolve to a state of anarchy, but all consistently try to appeal to the better angels of our nature and to uphold the rule of law, whether it be in our electoral process or in any other process. I want to close with this by saying that INEC has lost credibility in the eyes of the people. And the last thing our democracy needs is for people to feel like they do not have agency in the decision about who leads them. INEC needs to do what it takes, whatever it takes, to restore confidence. And that means that INEC needs to immediately set up a review process of the electoral process that we've just experienced, if for no other reason than to restore confidence of the people in the electoral process. And I hope that that happens very, very promptly.
Indeed. Honorable West Idahosa, your comments.
Well, it's regrettable. I empathize with the professor, and it's unfortunate that it has to get to the stage where lives are threatened. It should not be so. These are servants of the state. They are carrying out public office activities for the good of all. We should really be commending them, and I commend him as a person. But sometimes you find that people are in difficulties because of the shenanigans of others who should have performed their duty. Some of these problems may not have arisen at the level of collation that we are in now. They may have occurred a long time ago. But the security community must be called upon to perform their role. They are a critical element of the electoral system. They have a duty to ensure that the life of everyone involved, either as a voter or an official, is guaranteed. And so I pray that that happens, and urge INEC to resolve the disputes amicably, satisfactorily, peacefully, and democratically.
Thank you very much. That's a good place to anchor it. Honorable Ehioge West Idahosa, thank you as always for your incisive perspective on the issues as they arise. We're quite grateful for your participation this morning. The same goes to you, Dr. Oluwatola Toby, for your time and for your perspective on the program. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Coming back to our studios here, Jide, I know that now you've updated your stats, and the number crunching has gotten to an even higher level. What do we have now?
So the first thing we have is I ask myself, are we in 2023 or are we in 2019? And I'll tell you why. In 2019, when this collation process started, the first state we started with was Ekiti. 2023, the first state that was announced, Ekiti. Things went so bad in 2019 that the last state that was announced, Rivers. Now, it seems that we're back to where we were 4 years ago, Rivers. We need to reflect. What is the situation as at now? There are three ways to look at it. To look at which states have the parties won. 23 out of 36 state results have been announced, including Abuja. Across these 23 states, the ANPP has won 1 state. The Labour Party has won 5 states.
Don't you mean the NNPP?
So the NNPP 1 state. The Labour Party 5 states. The APC 7 states. The PDP 10 states. Though the PDP has won more states, across these 10 states it has won, and across all the 23 states that we've seen results, they've had very few margins. So above all, the APC still has the highest number of votes, as at this moment, 6.5 million votes. PDP, second place, 5.1 million votes. Labour Party, third place, 3.1 million votes. Sorry, Labour Party, third place, 3.1 million votes. The NNPP is fourth with 1.4 million votes. In summary, the APC and its candidate is leading, as a lead over the PDP of 1.3 million votes. That is the situation across the 23 states that we have results. The second question people are asking is, where are these 13 states that have not produced results? We need to look at them from the zone-by-zone perspective. First, in the South-South, all the results from the 6 states, in the Southwest, all the 6 results from the Southwest have been announced. We are not expecting any more results from the Southwest. In the South-South, only 3 states out of the 6 states results have been announced. We're expecting results from Rivers, Delta, and Akwa Ibom. In the Southeast, we've gotten only 1 state out of 5 states. So we're expecting results from Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Imo. In the Northwest, 6 out of 7 states have given us their results. We're expecting results from Zamfara. In the North Central, across the 6 states in the North Central, we're expecting results from Plateau, Niger, and Kogi states. We've gotten the results from Abuja. And in the Northeast, we're expecting results from Borno, Taraba. We've gotten 4 results out of the 6 results expected from the Northeast. So the summary is 23 out of 36 state results have been released. We've looked at the 13 states that we're expecting the results from, and we can see that the APC still has the majority of votes. It has a lead of 1.3 million votes over the PDP, though the PDP across these 23 states has won the most number of states. Don't forget, winning the most number of states does not guarantee you that you've declared the winner. What guarantees that you've declared the winner is you get 25% as a minimum in 24 states, including the FCT. Some people say that's about 25 states, and you score the majority number of votes. So now that we've crossed the mid-mark, clearly we've crossed the mid-mark, we can clearly see which horse is winning. Like I said earlier, the challenge for the horse that is leading is the majority of votes scored from the other candidates. It's more than the votes the APC has scored. So if you look at the votes from the PDP, from the Labour Party, and from the NNPP, total votes scored by those 3 parties, 9.7 million votes, relative to the 6.5 million votes scored by the APC. So whoever wins this race, the challenge is you need compulsorily to bring everyone together. And I must emphasize that point I talked about. Remember when we started this 4th Republic, President Obasanjo won 28 out of 36 states. Since then, presidents have been winning fewer states, which means there's been less national appeal. And that affects everything in the country. Affects security, affects confidence, affects perception.
Is there any way, Jide, my apologies for butting in, is there any way to really emphasize that any stronger than you already have? I ask advisedly. There are those who have, even in the build-up to the elections, this particular election, have said over and over again that it seems Nigerians are a lot more divided now than ever before. And that's something, from what you are saying, it's almost like data is proving it. And then the case you made the other time that, one candidate won far more votes, block votes from a particular region, and another candidate won another block of votes from a particular region. Meanwhile, the constitution mandates you have to have a generous spread across the nation. So how significant is this issue to us, especially in the name of what Ladi reminded us the other time that the Army General said, unity and faith, peace and progress?
Let's look at it this way. The APC, as at this moment, has scored 6.5 million votes. Keep that number in one hand, 6.5 million votes. Other parties have scored 9.7 million votes. What it means is that there are more people that are dissatisfied with this result than more people that are satisfied with it. More people have said they don't want these candidates. They are pointing to the candidates they want. That is the feeling. That is the national sentiment, where the majority are saying we don't want these candidates. Does it make it right or wrong? Not necessarily. The Constitution states the requirements for the president, and whoever will be declared will meet that requirement, likely. But the challenge for that person is, how do you manage the sentiments of citizens living in other states? And that's why I say that in the build-up to this campaign and the elections, I've studied all the manifestos of the candidates. Candidate A, if I were to, it's really, candidate A it's the difference between 6 and half a dozen. One is 6, the other is half a dozen, the third is 2 times 3. And so, the essence is, put your manifesto aside and look at what the facts and what the sentiments are saying. At the moment, a candidate is leading, even though he scored less of the total votes that have been cast. A candidate is leading, even though another candidate is winning more of the states. That is the implication. You are in the lead. Nothing wrong with it. What is the main challenge is, there's another party, or there are other parties, and their supporters are saying, we want someone else. And so the first responsibility is cooperation. And I mentioned yesterday, the Chief of Defense Staff General, Lucky Rabo, couldn't have put it in any way better. And that is, there's a party greater than all these parties, and that party is unity, faith, peace, and progress. And whoever wins, whatever happens as we see the results of these 13 other states, we need to know that our priority now is unity. We have to have faith, peace, and it's all about the progress of Nigeria. Millicent.
I saw a similar party on your status, by the way. I'm sure we all saw that. But then initially you talked about, you know, the differentiation of a particular political party taking a block of votes in the north and then the other in the south. But you mentioned a party that has an even spread. What percentage is that? So
at the moment, out of APC's 6.5 million votes, 40% of that has come from the southern region of Nigeria. At the moment, out of PDP's 5.1 million votes, 77% has come from northern Nigeria. Out of Labour Party's 3.1 million votes, 58% has come from southern Nigeria. And for the NNPP, 99% of its votes have come from northern Nigeria. The NNPP has won one state, and that's Kano. So the challenge is, we're expecting so many other states. Majority of those states begin southeast, south-south. The challenge is, the states from the south-south and the southeast, all those states, Rivers, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Imo, all the states we're expecting from the southern region were won by the PDP 4 years ago. And now that the PDP is no longer in the lead, what will happen with the state of peace in those states?
That's a very interesting development. There are several results. Of course, again, all of this are based on the numbers. We have to emphasize that Babajide is not giving his opinion here. He's talking about the patterns as dictated and by the numbers. And the implications of those numbers on the election where we have it as at this moment. We have 40 minutes of waiting time for that. You can see, of course, that the hall is already beginning to have quite a number of people, except for the table on the dais, which is where Professor Yakubu and his colleagues will be sitting. And hopefully, perhaps, just like we talked about earlier in the day, perhaps by the end of proceedings today, we will have virtually all the results from all the other outstanding states formally received at the INEC Collation Center. And then, of course, Babajide will be able to have his complete figures for the purpose of his statistical analysis. And then, of course, others who are looking for the same results for other reasons will also have them. And then we might have an idea of where this election is taking us. So the visuals there from the National Collation Center in the Federal Capital.
Ladi, again, for our viewers, we need to be able to let them understand that all this information is at, like you said, at the moment. And again, it's always good to reemphasize some key points. The key points are that out of these 23 states that we have their results, 13 of these states are in northern Nigeria, 10 in southern Nigeria. I'd like to quickly talk about the states that we have the results in northern Nigeria, that the PDP, APC, the Labour Party, and the NNPP have won. First, to the states that we've seen the Labour Party win. The Labour Party, based on the results at the state level and the national, all the results from INEC, all these results are from INEC. The Labour Party won Nasarawa State. The Labour Party as well won Abuja. Now let's look at the states the APC won in northern Nigeria. The APC has won only 3 states in northern Nigeria: Kwara State, Jigawa State, and Benue. Let's look at the states the PDP has won in northern Nigeria: Kebbi, Yobe, Gombe, Adamawa, Katsina, Sokoto, Bauchi, and Kaduna. That is the situation as at now in northern Nigeria. Let's go to southern Nigeria. In southern Nigeria, the Labour Party has won 4 states: Lagos State, Cross River, Enugu, and Edo. In southern Nigeria, the APC has also won 4 states, Ekiti, Ondo, Ogun, and Oyo, and the PDP has won 2 states, Osun and Bayelsa. In summation, like we emphasized, people want to know who is leading. The APC is leading, a margin of 1.3 million votes, and that is the situation. We still have 13 more states. It's still, again, if you look at the PVCs that have been collected in these 13 states, if you look at the potential voter turnout that could happen within these 13 states, there's still a probability, you might want to call it a possibility, that any of the other horses could still take the lead. That is the fact.
This is where we are at this point with the results, and of course, we must continue to emphasize the fact that so many people are interested in these results, and what we're doing is providing some context and some clarity based on the numbers that we have, and just to re-emphasize the fact that all the results that we put up here, that we analyzed, that Jide crunches the numbers, are all results already released by INEC. The Independent National Electoral Commission. So that's very important to note. We take all the stories on all the figures from INEC.
And talking about results, IREV's numbers are up, 81,867.
Say that again.
81,867.
Okay, so we're slowly, but possibly by the time Professor Yakubu takes his seat at about midday, we might be hitting the 82,000.
Slowly but surely.
There you have the IREV portal there. So one will want to encourage citizens to go there and check for
your polling units, your results from your polling units, your ward, the total. If you have pictures, you can cross-check. It's available for you.
Yeah.
You can access it.
And as you can see, more and more of them are having red lights, red colors,
tags,
beside the blue, which means they have all their.
And sometimes there's even though, as has been said, quite a number of these uploaded results are sometimes not quite legible, sometimes involve other objects other than the results and so on, but quite a lot of them are actually the results, and they are legible and can be read. Yeah. So one cannot overemphasize that.
There's something that we heard from the Commissioner of Police in Rivers State where we went, when he was talking about the fact that some of the issues that were like cyberbullying on the social media has begun to translate to the streets, and that's not very, very pleasant. It's not very pleasant, and it's something that we've been talking about.
We've been talking about it, and because what is now happening is that a lot of what is being said is being fed into the narrative that is making people come out and take positions. One cannot overemphasize the importance of not following down that path. Professor Adias, who is the scope in River State, has at the moment decided, I'm not doing this anymore because, yesterday there were threats to his life. As Honorable Westida also pointed out, he may not have been responsible for what led to those threats. It may have been either the work of other people and all of that. Indeed, the news is that, he's saying that there were threats to his life. And as I pointed out, the reports were that overnight he spent the time within the INEC Collation Center in Port Harcourt because the security agencies said it was too risky for him to leave there and go anywhere else, even to observe some rest. So he spent, the night there in Port Harcourt in River State. And perhaps, again, this is just emblematic of some of what may be happening. But before we go any further, perhaps let's take this out of Gusau in Zamfara State, where the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, has won the presidential election in Zamfara State. Votes 298 298,396. That's 298,396 votes of all the votes cast. Let's listen into the Collation Officer for Zamfara State, the scope, Professor Kashim Shehu of the Federal University of Birnin Kebbi, who announced the results earlier.
Total number of registered voters as collated 1,801,879,308. 1,808. Total number of accredited voters as collated 527,137. 527,137 votes. Now, votes according to local government and okay. Now scores according to party. Party A. Party A scored 101-2. Party AA scored 210. AAC scored 99. ADC 582. ADP 855. APC 298,396. APC 298,396. APGA APGA scored 921. APGA 921. APM 218. APM 218. APP 149. APP 149. BP 44. BP 44. LP 1660. LP 1660. NNPP scored 4044. NNPP 4044. NRM 801. PDP 193,978. PDP 193,978 votes. PRP 266. PRP 6266. SDP 81. SDP 81. YPP 355. YPP 355. ZLP 142. 142. Total valid votes. Total valid votes 502,920. 3. Total valid votes 502,923. Rejected votes 16,508. Rejected votes 16,508. Total votes cast 519,431. Total vote cast 519,431. Thank you for the opportunity to present this before you. Cancellation. Within the course of election process, there were some cancellation. These cancellations are presented as follows. Number of polling units affected 167. Number of polling units affected 167. Total number of registered voters for the affected PUs 102. 182,013. 182,013. Total number of PBCs collected. Total number of PBCs collected 174,862. Total number of PBCs collected 174,862. Thank you for listening.
Stay tuned. Well, we have the results there from Zamfara, which Jide is using, of course, now to update his portal. But before that, let's go back to Port Harcourt in River State and remind you of what happened a couple of moments ago. The state collation officer for the presidential election, Professor Charles Adias, has suspended the further collation of results from the state until further notice. He's alleged threats to his life and has insisted that until INEC takes action with respect to those threats, he will not be proceeding any further. Of course, the collation had already commenced and was going on. In fact, there were two results they were expecting from Obiapo local government and from Degema, which incidentally are the local governments from where Governor Nyesom Wike and his deputy, Dr. Ipalibo Harry Benigo, come from, that were being awaited before this latest development. In spite of appeals from everyone, and a stern warning issued by CP Adeoye, Professor Adia stood his ground that was what was going to happen. Let's listen into CP Adeoye.
In court. I want to request the professor to kindly submit a written complaint to this effect to the Commissioner of Police, River State. Investigation will be launched, and those behind it will be brought to book. I give you my word on that, sir. And while your assignments continue, the Nigeria Police Force guarantees your safety. we will provide adequate security for your movement, we will provide adequate security for your residence. And whoever is stupid enough to attempt anything will pay with their lives. I give you my word. If you wish, try us. That is my word to those behind this blackmail and threats. They have displayed irresponsible ignorance in blaming the professor for non-functioning of beavers. Do they really know how the system works? And I want to request the professor not to be discouraged and not to be deterred in his commitment to national service. Nationalists before you have faced similar travails, and now you are counted among the legends for putting your life on the line in the service of your country. We salute your courage. We want to request, sir, that in the interest of the nation, you complete this process, because if you don't, the national coalition will be held up. And it can spin the entire presidential election itself into jeopardy. It is on this note, sir, that I plead that you kindly complete this process while we guarantee your safety, even after the whole election is over. I urge you kindly reconsider, sir.
Any further comments from?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Omang Maharian, Chairman and Coalition Officer for Young Progressive Party, and also the Secretary of Rivers State Interparty Advisory Council. As political party leaders, sir, we condemn in totality the threat to your life. We've been in this hall with you for the past 3 days, and we can attest, one, to your simplicity and the way you handle matter. You have been so neutral in all of this. But why we want to, whilst we condemn the appeal to you, what's the need being here all these days, the night and all that, and we cannot conclude this process? That you too, you will not be satisfied. You will not be satisfied. You will not be pleased. Yeah, we know but we know that the Nigerian police force will be up to their duty to ensure that you are safe, because they are saddled with the protection of lives and property. Sir, reconsider, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any further comments, please?
Well, my name is Pastor Kinsley Chukwu, State Collection Agent for PDP. We recall that yesterday I did commend the Commission, and indeed also commended you, sir. I had to recall my experience from the distribution stage, witnessed distribution, and also witnessed the entire proceedings here since we started coalition. So I commended you, the entire Commission. Now, we want to plead with you to continue with coalition. We've taken 21 LGAs, just remaining 2. We also condemn whatever threats that has been made to your life. We condemn it in totality. And I'm happy the CP has given every assurance. He spoke yesterday to a very big extent. And today he has also repeated to assure you of his readiness to provide the necessary police protection that you need. So I want to plead with you, sir, that since we have taken 21 AGAs, let's complete it with the remaining ones so that we all go. You are doing this for the sake, for the entire country. That is my humble appeal and submission, sir. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Nenye Kocha. I represent AAC. Sir, I want to make an appeal to you. I want to make an appeal because indeed what you raised is a very sensitive matter, threat to life. But I'll draw your attention to what happened here yesterday. Somebody also was threatened, and the police had to rise up and secure her and brought her to the hall. And then you stabilized everything, and we got through that very ugly incident. So I want to say that in the same fold, you should try and complete the assignment. Because this assignment is sensitive. This assignment will affect the nation if it's truncated at this point. We are sure that those who are raising threat to you through anonymous means do not want to be known for what they're doing. So please, sir, do the best you can so we'll have a complete process in Rivers State. Thank you.
Any other comments? In the absence of further comments, I want to re-emphasize that I still want to adjourn collations. Collations will be adjourned. Like I said, until INEC, indeed represented by the REC, because in the assault I have received for the past 3 days, they have failed to recognize the difference between the scope and the REC of Rivers State. When there are crises in polling units, the attack is on my phone and myself that I'm responsible. When beavers fail to function, the attack is equally on my phone that I'm responsible. In fact, I'm responsible for the code errors and the rest of that, or malfunctioning of beavers. And so I believe that if the INEC represented by REC is able to address this misinformation, we can reconsider and reconvey. But for now, coalition is hereby adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Professor Charles Adias, the State Collation Officer for the presidential election in Rivers State. There earlier on today, in fact, just about an hour or so ago, withdrawing from the collation exercise, suspending the exercise until further notice because of threats to his life.
And he did say that, if INEC can address some of the misinformation, then, they can see the process continue and conclude. Well, we have more news coming in on the second, on the hour. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, they're cautioning political leaders and actors against making provocative and unguarded statements, which they say could drag the country into unnecessary conflict. While reckless statements from inconsequential individuals can be easily ignored, they're saying this is not so for of those from respected political and religious leaders. Quote, it is important that patriotic and well-meaning Nigerian leaders should support unrelenting adherence to process and procedure in the ongoing electoral process. This is because any inclination to unprocedural decision or action at this critical time is a direct call for anarchy, which will not yield any positive outcome to the nation. While the NSCIA counsels the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to remain undistracted and committed to its duty until it discharges it to its logical conclusion, is asking all Nigerians, particularly Muslims, that no matter the level of provocation from certain quarters, to remain calm and prayerful.
That is coming as if on cue. Very important at this point. Live pictures out of the International Conference Center in Abuja, venue of the National Coalition Center, which we're still keeping our eyes on in Abuja. We expect that the INEC National Chairman and his commissioners will be there at a point in time. There you have it. We're still expecting the commencement of proceedings there. Our eyes are still there. And once that begins to happen, or once that's set to happen, we will let you know.
It's 7 minutes to what?
7 minutes
now.
6 minutes to so perhaps we've got a couple of minutes to allow you to update us on what we're having. I see that the horses have changed position. The horse that was in the lead is still in the lead, but it's moved further ahead. What's the situation?
Larry, there are three ways to look at this situation. The first is to look at what is going on in the states. The second is to look at what's going on in the regions. And the third is what do the numbers mean? The first, the state perspective. As at this moment, we have 24 results out of 36. 24 including Abuja out of 36. The NNPP has won 1 state. The Labour Party has won 5 states. The APC has won 8 states. The PDP has won 10 states. Just on the state-by-state perspective. Let's look at what is going on the regional perspective. In the North Central, we are still expecting 3 results out of the 6 states. We're expecting results from Plateau State, Niger State, and Kogi State. In the Northeast, we're expecting 2 more results out of the 6 results from the Northeast. We're expecting results from Borno and Taraba States. In the Southeast, we're expecting 4 results out of 5. We're expecting results from Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Imo States. And in the South-South, we are still expecting 3 results out of the 6 states. We're expecting results from Rivers, Delta, and Akwa Ibom. Millicent, there are 2 zones that we've gotten complete results from. The Northwest Ayo and the Southwest. Why are these 2 zones important? For 2 reasons. The first is the Northwest has the highest number of PVCs in Nigeria, 21 million. And we've gotten all results from the Northwest. Second, we have all the results from the Southwest. Why is this important? The Southwest is the second region that has the second highest total number of permanent voter cards, 15 million. And now we have all the results from the Southwest. Now you might want to ask, who won the Northwest? Who won the Southwest? From the results from INEC, the APC in the Northwest had 2.6 million votes, the PDP 2.3 million votes. In simple terms, the APC has won the Northwest. In the Southwest, the APC 9.3 million votes, the PDP 941,000 votes. In simple terms, the APC has won the Southwest. The third and most important point, what do all these regions and states and all these statistics mean? It means based on the 24 states we have the results, the APC is close to the 7 million mark, 6.8 million votes. The PDP, second, distant second right now, 5.3 million votes. The Labour Party, 3.1 million votes, and the NNPP, 1.4 million votes. For viewers at home, what do all these mean? It simply means the APC is in the lead with a margin over the PDP with 1.5 million votes. But again, we're still expecting 12 more states. That is the situation at the moment. All the results from the Northwest, we've seen a winner. All the results from the Southwest, we've seen a winner. We're expecting 12 more states. However, the APC has a margin of lead over the PDP of approximately 1.5 million votes. The question is, will the PDP be able to catch up in these 12 states? Will the Labour Party be able to catch up in these 12 states? Will the NNPP be able to pull surprises in these 12 states? Hopefully we'll find out before the end of today.
Indeed.
Definitely we will find out. Hopefully who will win? I guess Senator Northcote most certainly will. As soon as the National Coalition Center opens formally, information that now this is hopefully information available to us says that the floor will open again
at noon.
At noon, and that's 2 minutes away.
That's about 2 minutes or so. So we're counting down to that. We're expecting them any moment from now. But Gideon's giving us quite a lot of food for thought. So I mean, these are results as announced by INEC. Never mind all the discussions we had earlier in the day about process and all of that. These are results that INEC has given us. So again, one expects that many of the states, because that's something that we also need to emphasize, many of the states that we have results from, they've been announced at the level of the states. the officers there now have to carry those same results and head for this National Collation Center in Abuja. So in the course of today, many of the states whose results were announced overnight and in the course of this morning will now be making their way towards the National Collation Center in Abuja to join the queue of states to make presentations to the national chairman of INEC, who is the chief returning officer for the presidential election. So that needs to be separated. The results we have been announced at the state level, but they still need to be submitted at the federal level, if you like, at the National Collation Center for the purposes of receipt and possible review before a final declaration is made at this point in time. But there you still have it, the live pictures from the National Collation Center, which is at the International Conference Center in Abuja. Some activity beginning to show up on the days. I don't know how much of activity that is. A test of microphones and so on, possibly as officials cross the T's and dot the I's ahead of the formal start.
It'll also be good to for INEC to take some of the counsel that our guests have put forward this morning so far, talking along the line of calming tensions, calming people's tempers, and generally saying, look, guys, we need to keep Nigeria united. We need to keep Nigeria peaceful so that we can have faith enough for progress.
And Ayo, do you think there was sort of a foresight? Because you remember the Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC chairman, had said we would have two centers: one, collation proper; the second, to address any issues related to the elections.
I think it was only sensible because from Sunday, even from Saturday, we've been having those issues come up. For instance, there are those, some have dug up, the place where he affirmed that the IRF will be populated real time. Unfortunately,
that has not happened.
That has not happened. So he had spoken to that one. He needs to speak to that one to calm all of the nerves. But it's also important, some of the issues that I think Dr. Oluwatola mentioned earlier, that look, the political parties themselves need to, in the interest of Nigeria, this is not in the interest of any political party and all of that. It's in the interest of Nigeria. This is the only country we have. We have to emphasize that. It's the only country we have. This is the only process for now that we have chosen to select our leaders. Frauds, certainly. Faulty, yes. But for now, this is all the process we have. So as a people, we have to join hands and make it work whichever way it is for us all.
Yes, you're right. Whoever wins, we can see the horse that is in the lead. We don't know who will win. I've looked at the parameters, the northwest, the southwest. And again, for me, that historical trend, Kwara State. But perhaps the greatest insight from today's data is for whoever candidate that emerges or that is declared president, is that the fact is that the candidate that is in the lead at the moment has 6.8 million votes. If you add the scores of the other three candidates, 9.9 million votes. And so whoever wins should celebrate with cautious optimism. It should know that you might be declared president, but it is the people that won. In other words, majority of the people are saying.
Okay, just a moment. Just a moment. I understand that they're going live to Abuja. Let's listen in.
And what we want to do is that when we start the collation, we are going to go all through. So we want to have at least 10 states before we proceed. So based on that, and based on the fact that we have around 5-6 states now, we have decided that the collation will commence at 2 p.m. So I want to apologize to you that we are not going to commence at the time we say we are going to commence. We are going to commence at 2 p.m. By 2 p.m., we are confident that we will have more than 10 states of the Federation. As presently, we have around 5 of them, and 3 have been processed. So by 2 p.m.,
we are confident that all the other states will have been processed, and then we'll just go all through and run through the process and see how far we can go today. So let me once again apologize to you that we are going to start at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Of the INEC National Commissioner for Voter Education and Publicity, Mr. Festus Okoye, announcing that a third postponement to the start of collation. First, it was supposed to kick off at 11, then it got postponed to 12, and now he's just announced that it's been pushed further until 2 p.m. Today, later on in the afternoon today, when INEC is hoping that it will have at the very minimum 10 states on the queue to submit their results at that time. So I guess part of the reason for this is logistics, so that the situation is smoother, that we can have more results. Hopefully, as Ayo and I were talking about a bit earlier, that, hopefully that this process can be concluded today. But that is only our own hope.
No, but you said it since, I think it was yesterday. You already said, give or take, Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes, I did say that.
That's the advantage of experience.
I did say that, and it is looking that way.
It is looking that way because perhaps even more so because hitherto we'd never had voter population up to 90 million. Now we have more than that. The number of polling units also increased. So there is a lot more collation for the electoral officers at the various levels of hierarchy to attend to. So those are the things that we're seeing.
The lights have gone out at the National Collation Center. So
can we also give this to them in terms of trying to breach that communication gap?
Right.
Which, a lot of our guests have spoken about them. Minute by minute information, what's happening, why it's happening.
Yeah, they came up. Although I did hear that it was because Channels Television beamed the satellite and kept on counting down the minutes.
Channels had to channel the information somehow.
I think before we go any further, Jide, could you conclude your thoughts before I bring in our guest who's just joined us now?
Based on the results that we have at the moment, we're back to where we were in the First Republic, where the candidate that was declared president did not score up to 50% of the votes that were cast in that election. And we remember what happened after the candidate got into office. There were lots of challenges. We're at the point right now where the leading candidate is the candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has scored 6.8 million votes. But if you add the votes of the other candidates, people that wanted their candidate to win, we have 9.9 million persons that voted for another person that was not Tinubu. And so he needs to understand that majority, if you look at those numbers, the majority are saying they do not want you. So if the results turn out to still go in your favor, you have huge responsibilities that go beyond what you stated in your manifesto.
I think another thing, Ladi, and I think you are better to speak to this before we go to our guest or possibly even take the Sokoto story, is the fact that for once we need to get to a point, right, where we recognize the place of political party supremacy. This didn't happen beyond the Third Republic. In the First Republic, it was party supremacy. In the Second Republic, it was party supremacy. That's why the president in 1979, the Second Republic, had to have a kitchen cabinet in order to be able to do something real significant. In the Third Republic, the party was supreme. The national chairman of the parties had a lot more to say, had a lot more teeth, so to speak. In this republic, that hasn't really happened much. And it's the same system we've been practicing. The person on the ballot is the party, not the individual.
Not the candidate. The candidate's name is
even though, exactly, even though, as you said, it is the candidate that is recognized for which many people go, and that is a very, very good thing. That's also saying that the electorate and the party and the candidate should recognize that the party is supreme. That's why it's not a candidate's picture on the ballot, but it's that of the party.
Indeed, and speaking of the candidates and pictures, the candidate of the PDP has won the presidential election in Sokoto State. The reports just coming in indicate that the scope in Sokoto, Vice Chancellor of the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Professor Kabir Bala, has announced the results of that election. Let's listen in.
Election was conducted in all the 23 local governments of the state. And the summary of the results is as follows. The total number of registered voters is 2,037,024. 2,037,024. Number of accredited voters 619,492. Number of accredited voters 619,492. The votes received by political parties are as follows. Party A, 115. Party A, 115. Party AA, 110. Party AA, 110. Party AAC, 128. Party AAC, 128. Party ADC, 486. Party ADC, 486. Party ADP, 1,105. Party ADP, 1,105. Party APC, 285,444. Party APC, 285,444. Party APGA, 808. Party APGA, 808. Party APM, 273. Party APM, 273. Party APP, 219. Party APP, 219. Party BP, 126. Party BP, 126. Party LP, 6,568. Party LP, 6,568. Party NNPP, 1,300. Party NNPP, 1,300. Party NRM, 687. That's 81. 681. Party NRM, 681. Party PDP, 288,679. Party PDP, 288,679. Party PRP, 324. Party PRP, 324. Party SDP, 120. Party SDP, 120. Party YPP, 175. Party YPP, 175. Party ZLP, 208. Party ZLP, 208. The total valid votes, 586,815. 586,815. Rejected votes, 21,015. Rejected votes, 21,015. Total votes cast, 607,890. Total votes cast, 607,890. That is a summary of the results.
2,814.
The 2023 verdict there from Sokoto State. Professor Kabir Bala, the Vice Chancellor of the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, announcing that the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, had won the presidential election in that state. Let's return to our studios here, and we've been joined by the publisher of the political economist, Mr. Ken Ubeche. Ken, morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, it's now afternoon, but we have been here since morning, so we didn't know when it is afternoon.
We haven't seen the sun.
We haven't seen the sun, so we're not completely aware it's afternoon yet, but it is afternoon. I'm sure you've been following the trends, the themes, the various things that people are talking about. And I guess maybe to just dive you into it or push you into it, if whichever you would like. One should begin about asking you of what you make of the electoral process up until the stage that we are now.
Yes, that's where we should be interrogating, especially the media, because I'm more concerned about the role of the media.
Absolutely.
In the entire process. And the media should be interrogating the process of the elections, not just announcing the outcomes, because outcomes, they take processes. And the electoral system is, I call it the cream of democracy. It's election. It's the creamer, actually. And it's supposed to be a festival, not a war. But how do you arrive at that outcome? Is that outcome predetermined outcome? Is the outcome allowed to happen? Is it organic? Or is it something projected by somebody and they walk to the outcome? That is what the Nigerian media, I think, for now, should be interrogating. And if you ask me, I will say that we have not done enough to bring the electoral actors to account to the Nigerian people. In this instance, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and then the adjunct staff they have hired. What have they done to produce that results that the media is now announcing? And if we begin to interrogate it, we also bring to them, to the fore, the very fact that Democracy is governed by nothing but the rule of law. And the elections are governed by rules, laws, and mores. In the instant election that we're talking about, the presidential election and National Assembly elections, to what extent has INEC and all the actors conformed to the manual for this election? Because that's a manual. The Electoral Act 2022 is the manual for this election. And that Electoral Act is for instance now, it has become the ground norm for this particular election until we get another act. But for now, it governs this election. And I would say that the electoral actors have not conformed to the dictates, to the tenets, and the nuggets of the Electoral Act 2022. And that is where the media should begin to point out those things that the various actors have not done. I give you an instance. On the day of election, President Muhammadu Buhari voted in his Daura community. And he showed to the world who he voted for. The Electoral Act in section 122 talks about the secrecy of the ballot. I'm not supposed to know who Ladi voted for. I shouldn't know who Millicent voted for. And she shouldn't tell me who she voted for. But a sitting president who also signed this law, he signed into law, showcased who he voted for. And I saw another person, some other top politician, doing so. They wanted to patronize their parties, whatever that means, but you don't flout the law. Because if you look at that section 122 of the Electoral Act, it even spells the penalty for doing that. It talks about people, you can't vote by proxy these days, or like in the days of past, where somebody can take the electoral ballot paper and go and complete.
Let's quickly read it. Section 122.
Yes.
Every person in attendance at a polling unit, including every officer charged with the conduct of an election and his or her assistants, and every polling unit, polling agent and candidate in attendance at a polling unit, polling station, or at the collation center, as the case may be, shall maintain and aid in maintaining the secrecy of the voting. No person, sub 2, in attendance at a polling booth under this section shall, except for some purpose authorized by law, communicate to any person information as to the name or number on the register of any voter who has or has not voted at the place of voting. 3. No person shall interfere with a voter casting his or her vote, or by any other means obtain or attempt to obtain in the polling unit information as to the candidate for whom a voter in that place is about to vote for or has voted for. And that's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
I shouldn't know who you have voted for, and I shouldn't know who you want to vote for.
No person shall communicate at any time to any other person information obtained in a polling unit as to the candidate to whom a voter is about to vote for or has voted for.
The most important part, subsection 4.
Any person acting contrary to the provisions of this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a maximum fine of 100,000 naira or imprisonment for a term of 3 months or both. Okay, anyway.
I mean, the point is well. I mean, the point is well made. The point is well made. And the point you were making, Ken, is that that's part of the process.
Yes, it's part of the process that we should interrogate, and the media ought to point out these things.
That is very, very instructive.
No. We should be. See, media is beyond informing. The role of the media is no longer. It's just beyond informing people. You should interpret it.
Educate.
You should educate the people, and you should also analyze.
We've been doing that, Ken.
Yeah, that's
what you've been watching us since Friday.
No. Of course, this is my darling station. Channels is prima donna as far as I'm concerned in terms of electoral analysis, because you are dispassionate. I'm very professional. But I'm saying that beyond that, every other media house should take this manual vis-a-vis the process. Begin to tell the public that this is wrong and this is right. It is when we begin to point out these things that we grow. All of us want to grow electorally.
Sorry, George, my sincere apologies. Yeah. Ladi, please don't crucify me for this question. But let me ask Mr. Ubeche. If you find someone doing just this, that you said the president does and a number of people have done, and the police is around and says, we need to enforce this law, and the police begins to pick people who do that at a polling unit, what do you think the consequence would be?
No, there's nothing wrong with a police, but there are some people that are governed by immunity for now.
Yeah.
For instance, the president has immunity, but I'm saying there are other people who don't
That's
have
the
immunity.
point that I'm making.
Yes,
because someone actually, I think it was an Osazeuzi, said about this thing that you're talking about, that it is one thing to have the law. It's another thing to enforce the law in a way that will be seen to be fair to all concerned. So this is the law. Many people who contravened this law, acted contrary to this law in this process, know themselves as we speak. Now, how do we enforce this aspect of the law without seeming unfair?
Oh, very, very simple. You see, this issue of how to be fair in the eyes of the law is what has kept Nigeria stuttered, manacled to the stump of underdevelopment, even to the stump of primitivity. If you have a law, for crying out loud, we all watched Bill Clinton as a sitting president being interrogated by a Ken Star, being drilled every day. It was a movie for us. That was the most powerful president in the world. But he submitted himself to the law of the land. Everybody in Nigeria should submit himself to the law of the land. If you don't do that, you are not, forget democracy. You are not ready for democracy. It's about the rule of law. It doesn't matter who you are. Now, the president has immunity. Okay, I agree with that. You don't arrest him, he has immunity. But you can investigate somebody who has immunity and keep his file. When he loses that immunity, you can prosecute the person. That's the law. In the case of people that don't have immunity, why didn't the law act, the law enforcers?
I mean, even if we can argue that, in the case of the president or some of the others who indicated who they were voting for, as you said, whatever patronage reasons and so on. I mean, let's put that, and it comes back to the point Ayo made about being fair. The ones who actually showed their ballot papers for the purpose of payment, as evidence of payment, I mean, do they also fall under this?
Now, that payment is vote buying. Electoral Act, Section 22, you can go there. Section 22 talks about vote buying. Vote buying is an offense under the law. The buyer and the seller are both culpable. Go to Section 22 of the Electoral Act.
We've arrested many sellers, but I'm not aware of that,
Jankara market.
We have arrested many sellers. No. Many buyers, but we have not arrested any sellers. So I guess it goes back to the implementation question that I mentioned.
Let's go to
that is selective enforcement of the law.
Absolutely.
Well, any person who is in unlawful possession of any voter's card, whether used in the name of any voter or not, or sells or attempts to sell or offers to sell any voter's card, whether issued in the name of any voter or not, or buys or offers to buy any voter's card, whether on his own behalf or on behalf of any other person, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of not more than 500,000 naira or imprisonment not more than 2 years, or both.
So it's both the seller and the buyer. Like he said now, we have arrested many buyers. But what about the masquerade selling it?
Yes, the people selling the votes.
Yes, people are selling this vote. And people send them to sell the vote.
It comes back to enforcement in a way that is, in a manner that is fair.
Millicent is our in-house counsel, so at least on this panel. So let us.
The investigations are ongoing to get the sellers, that they were on ground during the elections. We heard from CSO saying that vote buying in this election was low, was minimal.
Yeah, it was lower than it used to be.
Isn't that progress? And this is seeing as
progress. I think it's because of Naira crunch. There was cash scarcity. Let's not forget that.
We're being told that our democracy is evolving.
Ayo doesn't like that word.
Our democracy is evolving. Let's not that.
Well, you gave me a new word, metamorphosis.
Yes.
It's metamorphosis. Yes, metamorphosis means that you grow from pupa to larva to adult.
Yeah.
There's a graduation in the growth.
Right.
In a positive sense.
Absolutely.
But if you snatch ballot boxes in 1983 or 1982 and you are still snatching it in 2003 or 2019 or 2015 or 2011, is that growth? Is that the metamorphosis we should be celebrating?
On a lighter note, Laddie, the ballot boxes in the 80s were wooden boxes.
They're very difficult to carry. You're better than these 2-3 people to carry. Okay, now these other ones are more lightweight. Yeah, and they're transparent. They're much lighter.
Easier to carry even now.
But let's not make light of what is otherwise a very serious situation, because again, because this speaks to what Ken mentioned at the start, which is the issue of process. And if you see incremental changes over time, then you, whether it's evolution you use or metamorphosis you use, you see, growth and development. I just wanted to ask you, Ken, from what you said thus far, but I don't want to take that, simply at face value that we haven't witnessed that incremental value, because if indeed we haven't, then we really have a big problem. But the fact that today we are talking of electronic transmission and the lack thereof, the fact that, there's less voter inducement, that more young people came out to participate in the election, that, the process, while there are parts of it that were not fulfilled, that the process largely was better than we, by the figures we have from the various CSOs and so on, the figures show a substantial, as the lawyers would say, compliance with the processes that were put in place. So do you agree with that? Did you see that?
Definitely. Well, there is an incremental value added. There's no doubt about that. And I'll take us back to 2007. Remember that the voter register in 1999, then 2003, up to 2007, had names like Michael Jackson, now voter register, Mike Tyson,
yes,
some exotic names were there, until we introduced the DDC, Direct Data Capture Machine. That helped to clean up the voter register, because that's actually the takeoff point for rigging. When you have a faulty voter register, rigging is as simple as ABC. So we've been able to introduce technology, and we are advancing in that calibration of introduction of technology. From DDC now, we went to card reader, which means on the day of election, a machine had to certify that you are actually the true owner of this card and that this is who you are. Now we are graduated to BVARs, which not only tells that you are the true identity of who you claim, but also is capable of transmitting results. The very fact that we are at the juncture where we are asking why was the result not transmitted real-time online as promised shows that, and these are the questions we didn't ask before, because they were not, it was never promised before. That technology was never there before. So it tells you that we have made advancement. But that advancement, we must also make it work. It's not working. Why people, there's a rage out there and anger and red eye everywhere is that they feel that all that were promised were not kept. And it's because of that promise, and because of the infusion of technology into the process, that raised the consciousness of a new generation of voters, the younger generation. They now believe that votes will count this time. The same people, the same age bracket, are now go out there on the street, they are raging, they are raving, they are cursing, and they are saying that the votes are not counting after all the promises, after all the infusion of technology, and that is should get us worried. And even much more, the Independent National Electoral Commission. Because that's the agency of government that is certified, certificated, licensed by law to organize free and fair, credible and verifiable elections. Not just organize elections for us. This election must be free, fair, and must be seen to be free and fair, credible, and must be verifiable. Because you said you will transmit this result, which means every polling unit result will be on your server. Now, when Party A will now tally all that were transmitted by their agents and compare with what was declared at the end of the day. So we have a long journey, actually, in this electoral process. Even if the result comes out tomorrow, on Thursday, or wherever, I'm telling you, it's just the beginning of yet another journey. This time in the direction of the judiciary.
I'd like us to stay with the process, as you talked about it earlier. You cited the process that involves...
Sorry, let me just put you on pause there, because the results of The election in Imo State has just been sent in to us. The final results indicate that the Labour Party has won the presidential election in Imo State. It polled 352,904 votes to beat all the other parties in the Imo elections. Other parties that were in the elections were the APC, which scored 66,171 votes. The PDP scored 30,044 votes, and the NNPP 1,536 votes. Let me take that again. The Labour Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, has won the presidential election in Imo State. He polled a total of 352,904 votes to beat the presidential candidate of the APC in the election. The presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, scored 66,171 votes in Imo State, while the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, scored 30,044 votes in Imo State. The NNPP's Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso scored 1,536 votes. So the results there of the election, the presidential election in Imo State.
More to come. That leaves us with
12 now.
12
I think,
more
sorry, 11 actually. It's 11 states now.
Okay. Well, the votes are counting.
And they are coming.
No, the votes are coming.
Because Ken's contention is that there is contention over whether they are counting.
Yes.
But then we have to count them.
Well, we are not counting, we are announcing.
Exactly. I wanted to, you've spoken to the electorate, the role the electorate needed to play, and you've also brought in the angle of the vote buyer, vote seller, and all of that. My question to you now is, you've spoken about various stakeholders. The voter, which is the electorate, is just one category of stakeholders in the electoral process. Which other ones, other than INEC, have or were supposed to play a role that, as from what you can see, didn't quite play that role, that has also, one way or the other, not made it the way we want it to be?
The political parties ought to play their role in voter education. The media must play its role in educating the public and taking them through the processes before, during, and even after elections. The civil society organizations also should play their role. These are critical stakeholders. But I will still single out the media. Okay, that's my own fraternity. And we have not played our role in an excellent manner. And I will say it, I say it with every sense of responsibility, being a stakeholder in the media. And I was telling somebody, a colleague of mine this morning, that the media has become partisan media reporting partisan politics. You can see the fractured media taking sides based on, ownership, even ethnic divides. Those things, those primordial sentiments and lines, strictures that govern politics and politicians are beginning to govern the space of the media. And it shouldn't be so. We should be aloof, distant from the politicians, because that's the only way you can actually bring them to account to the public. If you begin to jump into the cesspit with the same person you are supposed to correct, you don't have that moral badge anymore to correct the person. And you won't even see clearly. The media is no longer seeing clearly the way they should see, because the media is also beclouded by who owns us. Who pays the person that pays the piper calls the tune every day and any day. So I think the media should also show themselves as independent media.
Well, perhaps that's one good thing we can say about that is the media in Nigeria is not owned by just one individual or interest category or group. Government, we have government spokesperson, media houses. We have individuals who have, media houses, be it broadcast or print. And even whether if it's broadcast, it's radio and television. If it's print, it's magazines, it's online, and everyone is online now anyway. In fact, newspaper houses are now having TV platforms,
definitely,
to themselves. So it's been, should we say, democratized, so to speak. So we can say that if you put out your news here, there will always be someone to check you on this side. Is that a fair way to look at the media, the role of the media?
That is actually what is happening, because you can't see a uniform headline anymore. And also the very fact that, in those days, let me say in the Second Republic, the 1983 election and the rest of them, you don't have too many media platforms. So there wasn't actually real competition. It is what the Daily Times tells you when the election is free and fair that most people believe. It is what NTA tells you. The private media houses have not mushroomed. They were not even born then anyway, because even the Asset Network was not born. So what I'm saying in a sense is that while we have a broad spirit of media with diversity of ideologies and ownership governed by whether it's religious sentiment or whatever sentiment.
So sorry to interrupt you, Ken. The visuals on the screen here are live pictures from Abuja. We understand that there's about to be a joint press conference between the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, of course, assumedly about these elections. They're already taking their seats. So perhaps we should just join in and listen.
Okay. Looks like we're just settling down. They're just settling down to the press conference. As soon as they begin, possibly even before the official takeoff, we'll most certainly let you know and probably switch over. While at it, of course, this is where the media that we're talking about picks its news. Okay, so it's one thing to push this out, another thing to report it, and all of that. So looks like, okay, they're about to start, but once we have information about the official takeoff of that meeting, we'll definitely let you know. Just go ahead and conclude your thoughts.
Yeah, I was saying that whether we have a broad period of media houses governed by their various ideologies, what is critical is that people must report professionally. The media is governed by ethics and laws. So why flout the ethics of the profession that you belong? Just because of your belly? Or whatever reason that governs your thinking. I think at the end of the day, professionalism must be key, whether it's in the judiciary or in the media or any profession.
Sometimes, Sir Ken, they need help, assistance. They have a story, they're chasing it. They meet the authorities. There's no reply. Do they have to wait for a press conference before, and they're supposed to reply on time in this era of the internet, social media?
You see, that is one thing that some media sources or the people with reports tend to think they will hold us to ransom. If you have your facts, go ahead and report your story. If they have a counter story, let them tell their counter story. It's only when I don't have the facts that I want somebody to confirm. If I give you an opportunity to respond to an inquisition or inquiry I sent to you, and you are stalling on it, I will only state there that I've sent you inquiry, you did not respond. That's also fairness. So if the media has the facts, report the facts that you have. So media should not, we don't have any reason not to be fair. And not being fair is not also being fair to the readers, the electorate, the listeners, the viewers. And we must be fair to all in our reportage, especially when it's about political reporting. Because this is about the life of a nation. This is about leadership of people, communities, states, electoral districts, and then the whole nation. So if you twist the facts just because you want to push a particular narrative, it will come back to haunt you tomorrow. And what has happened over the years now, like what we remind ourselves that all of us still go to the same market today. So the market does not recognize that, oh, you defended this person, or you were part of a plot that brought this president in, or this governor in, or whoever. We all go to the same market. So we suffer the brunt. We bear it together with the general public. So the media owes itself, even itself, a duty to report factually, balanced reports, and those abide by the ethics that govern the profession of media practice.
I was going to say, so media professionalism, but some people say the kind of politics we play in Nigeria is absolutely different. It's very unique.
It is brazen, it is brutal, in fact, very brutish politics that we play. There's no doubt about that. But, when I used to give an example, in the days of the military, I was a news editor in the days of the military, at least towards the transition of Abacha era to democracy. I was a group news editor of the defunct Post Express. And I could tell the headlines of other newspapers on a particular story. When a particular press release comes, I know that this is a front page story because it was chasing the agenda that we all have, the whole media and the whole nation, get the military out of the space. Campaign for Democracy, NADECO, Eastern Mandate Union, AEMU, they were making front page stories. Once you get them, it's a front page. 300 university dons want Abacha out. It's a front page story. But immediately we enter the arena of democracy. We have achieved that in purpose. The plurality of opinion begin to evolve. People now hold their different opinions because we don't have a common agenda. Now, if the media has a common agenda in having a credible election, it doesn't matter who the candidates are. By saying that the processes and the laws must be, you just follow the process. If we have that as a common agenda, we can do better than we are doing now. And that is the issue. We have different agenda, different, of course, propelled by different purposes and philosophies and ideologies of the different media, and also much more by ownership. Because ownership and patronage are key determinants of where the news will swing. Who owns the media? Is it the politician that owns the media? Because even if it's private sector that owns it, the private sector owner may have liaison with some top politicians who may be the sponsors behind the scene. You don't know. The employers don't know anything about that. The employees don't know about that. But somebody is financing it. That's why I said that he who pays the piper calls the tune. So there will be subtle and nuanced control of your thoughts. Let me put it that way, quote and unquote. You can't control somebody's thought. But then the owner will draw some remarks at the meeting, the general board meetings or whatever meeting you hold, that will put you in check as an editor. That this person, this is where he won't tell you after, I don't use this person's story. But you know where his interest lies. So you protect it.
And that is for those who don't tell you. There are some who might just go ahead and tell you. But you've talked about, you've stated the role of political parties in this process. And I'd like you to delve in a little further. Why? Because some of the conversation we've had today, for instance, speaks to the fact that there's a high chance that some political parties didn't quite play their own role. The example is in that preliminary statement put out by IAGA that of the 176,646 polling units, the APC candidate, the PDP candidate had polling agents in 99% of those polling units. The APC candidate has polling agents in 97% of those polling units, and the LP Labour Party has 69%. We don't know for other political parties, and that means that for each of the polling units there ought to have been at least 18 polling agents each. So if that didn't happen, and now of course you know that there's a press conference is about to get underway in Abuja as a result of this whole thing. What's missing there? And do you think if the parties had their agents there and had these results, the contestations would be as significant?
It is it's poor strategy actually for any political party not to have an agent at any of the polling units, because your agent is your eye on the ear. You don't rely on the integrity of INEC officials. They have their business to do. Your business is to also monitor what INEC people are doing and what other agents are doing. And then your agent should be able, of course, your agent should go there with a phone. The law governs that. The law protects you to go there with a phone as an agent and snap that page and send to your party secretariat or whatever server you have created for your party. But if you have, if you don't have agents in all the polling units, you are shortchanging yourself. And you are giving leeway to even corrupt INEC officials to
Well,
monkey around with the result.
Yes, the press conference we mentioned earlier is about getting underway, as you can see on the screen, and the national anthem is being taken now.
Singular honor and pleasure to introduce the three from the left, National Chairman of the Labour Party, Comrade Barrister Julius Abure. The National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Dr. Iyocha Ayu. National Chairman of the ADC, Raps Musu. And then we have former Governor of Cross River, Governor Hill Imoke. We have the BOT Chairman of ADC, Dr. Mani Ibrahim Ahmad. We have the former Governor of Enugu State, we have Miss Dolly. We have the National Organizing Secretary of the Labour Party, we have my big brother here, Chief Archie Raymond. We have the campaign manager of Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council, we have Chief Dele Momodu, the Director of Strategic Communication for PDP. We have the former Deputy Speaker and former Governor of Imo State, my dear brother, I salute you. And then we'll have Ambassador Nkoye to His Excellency Joe. I now hand over to the distinguished Senator Dino. I have distinguished members of the civil society, ladies and gentlemen, and highly respected members of the Fourth Estate of the Rep. We are here this very historic day for the World Press Conference. We are going to start by inviting the man I call the irremovable National Chairman of PDP, former President of the Nigerian Senate, founding member of the PDP, former Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Iyocha. Gentlemen of the press, other distinguished personalities, very pleasant or happy one for our country. We should be celebrating democracy and not lamenting the difficulties that are presented to Nigerians and the world today. And therefore, welcome you to listen to the position of the main political parties that feel all is not right. And without wasting too much time, I'll be calling a colleague of the Labour Party to please bring the position of the three political parties. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Nigerians, executives, and members of the press, all other protocols observed. We thank you, members of the press, for honoring despite of the short notice. Nigeria held its general election on Saturday, February 28, 2023. And this press is to address the urgent and important issues arising from that exercise, which was of President, Vice President, and National Assembly members. The exercise carried out by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is still underway as we hold this conference. Collation is still ongoing. We surpass of the country. We monitored with dismay the travel of the Independent National rate. The conduct of the February violence, rigging, intimidation of voters, doctoring of results, and violation of the laid-down electoral process, which was communicated by the National Electoral Body, INEC. INEC has allowed use of bimodal voters accreditation system papers for their accreditation and voting election results will be electronically transmitted from polling units to INEC servers. INEC by all political parties,
Well, that press conference, the joint press conference of the PDP and the LP holding right there. Unfortunately, as you could see, the details aren't coming to you the way we want it to come. But as soon as we sort that out, we definitely will come back to you. Meanwhile, we're counting down 1 hour, 3 minutes from 2 o'clock when the INEC chairman should open the National Collation Center at the ICC in Abuja, so we can take more reports from all over the place. We're having this conversation with Mr. Ken Ubeche, who is the editor of The Political Economist. So you were talking about the political parties and where they may have, loosely speaking, compromised their role in the process.
Yeah, shooting themselves in the foot. And like I said, if you don't have enough agents, if you don't have agents in all the polling units, you have only shortchanged yourself because you are banking on the integrity of another person. Which shouldn't be, because politics is about interest. Everybody is there to protect his or her interest. So an agent for party A will protect the interest of party A only. Even when you see something going wrong against party C, it's not morally binding on the person to begin to say, no, why are you doing that to that party? Is it because they don't have an agent? So if any political party that doesn't have agents, not the polling units, whatever happens there, you can't actually, you don't have well, I won't say locus, but you may not have the arsenal, something in your arsenal to argue your case.
But doesn't that now speak to funding? You know, why should the elections be very expensive?
Well, sometimes, you know, but in the case of democracy and presidential system of democracy, it's usually more expensive than parliamentary system. And the elections is where political parties spend a lot of money. And that's why even the Electoral Act and the Constitution recognize that there must be expenditure during electioneering period. And that those things count, and that's why you hear people say that politics is not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, it's for not for the faint-hearted. It's for the deep pockets, and that's also why they raise fundraiser. Political parties raise funds through fundraisers, through donations from people. Although there's a cap to how much you can spend, but you and I know that
who is monitoring that cap?
Yeah, no, you and I know that's not expected in Nigeria. So people spend as they have it, and people even spend foreign exchange in the local politics.
I remember one of the presidential candidates saying to me that if they wanted to curtail vote buying and selling, the redesign should be of the dollar, not of the naira. That there's no point to redesigning the naira. That it should have been the dollar that should be redesigned.
But you see the justification in that in the man caught in Rivers State.
Yes, with more than $500,000.
People are being caught with the same dollar. So it is actually the currency of the politician. It's not the naira. So all that agitation.
Now, to speak to the implications of the political parties that do not have. I'm glad that you're speaking to these subheads in further detail, so that the voter, the Nigerian, can understand that, look, whatever perception or realities they're experiencing now, it didn't just come from one source. It came from all of us.
Yes.
It came from the electorate, it came from the political parties, it came from INEC as well. So what should we now be saying to who in order to calm nerves? Because as we speak, we both know tempers are very high. I mean, one of it is what we are seeing in Abuja, where the political parties, some political parties are getting together to collaborate, if I can use the term.
Yeah, my take actually, from if you listen to the very person that has spoken, people are talking about cancellation and the rest of them. Allow this process to terminate, to get to a terminus. That terminus is allowing INEC to announce the final results. Now, if you have a contention, why I'm saying is that because I don't want people to bear arms and march into the streets in the name of defending their votes or protesting the outcome or perceived outcome, because you never can tell if the result is delayed, if it's not coming today or tomorrow or the day after. The protest might even start before the final result comes out. From what you can see from the politicians, they're already agitated, and what this means that they are sending stimulus to their followers, to their supporters. If our boss can be this angry, we have a justification to bear arms, to go into the street. And I don't want us to get to that level. We can protest, but protest with civility. Protest using the rule of law. We have seen in other democracies, when people go, we have seen governors in this country installed by the judiciary, senators installed by the judiciary, presidents that their position was shaky, firmed up by the same judiciary. So, and the judiciary has become part of the electoral process in Nigeria. In fact, the Constitution recognizes that. That's why you have tribunal, appeal court, then Supreme Court, the terminus. So allow this process, INEC process, to get to its own terminus. You cannot take it off from there. By that time, you will also have gathered your own facts. Because the law is not moral. Law is not moralistic. It's based on evidence. As they call it, law of thought. I'm sure a lawyer. It's evidence-based. So if you don't have evidence and you are raging and raving and then making all the noise, once you don't have the evidence to prove what you have alleged,
It's going to be quite difficult.
You know, it's a no case for you.
Sometimes there's also public policy which the court looks at in making a decision. But then, yes, largely evidence-based.
The other thing, of course, in all of this is that, I think some of our guests in the morning segment alluded to this when we were talking about the process. In the process, there are multiple points, that you go through in the process. Yep. But there are also, in that process, safeguards for breaches of the same process. We've been quoting sections of the Electoral Act and so on.
And even the penalties.
And the penalties are also there.
Yes.
So, but then all those will happen only if the process is followed.
Yeah.
Because if you find me doing something that is an obvious breach, but you don't have any, as just been said, any evidence of that breach beyond you screaming and shouting that I breached it.
Yes.
You don't go further to process that my breach, which is by gathering the evidence and all of that, and then presenting it to the authority which is supposed to provide the check and the balance within the process. Then, you yourself, you are breaching the process. I mean, again, I don't know how...
I was going to say, the fact that I saw it or heard it, makes me a witness. So that's one
Yeah, makes you a witness, but if you are the only one who saw it...
How do I prove that?
How do you prove it? I mean, if there's nobody else...
You can deny that
you can witness an event, and you don't have evidence to document that event. It's not documented, you only witnessed it. And I usually give an example. As a journalist, and I tell my reporters this, see, it's always good to document things. Go with a recorder, whatever. These days, you can use your phone to record video-wise or audio. If you don't have that evidence, you can see somebody giving another person bribe. You saw it. They even he thanked you for the bribe. Say, man, I didn't even expect this much. Oh. Thank you very much. It's bribe. You didn't record it. If you go to report it, both of them will agree that they never met.
Yes.
Oh, I never gave and I never received. You are in the lodge. You that reported it, even though you witnessed it, even though it happened. But because you don't have evidence. Law is evidence-based, largely.
They say I'm not a lawyer, Millicent, you are the lawyer. But, he who alleges
must prove.
Must be the one who proves. So if you claim that something has happened, then, the arbitration authority or the adjudication authority will need to be presented with the evidence of the breach to be able to say, yes, this man is correct, you breached, and these are the penalties as stipulated again by the same process for you. Because there seem to be gaps here. There seem to be quite a number of gaps. While we have been speaking from Saturday night, I know that earlier on Saturday when the election in some of the polling units ended, and people talked about real-time uploading of the results. Yeah. They expected that, the election finished at 5, by 10 after 5, we should be able to check on IREV and, the photo of the result sheet should have been there, which was where this crisis, if you want to call it that, began. Because they went there, having returned from the polling booth home, they went to check and it wasn't there, and then people started raising alarm. But slowly, I think from about 10 p.m., 1, 2, 3, and so on. And I think the last time I checked, we were
just now we're about 83,600.
83,600.
So INEC results, INEC election results.ng website, but on the cvr.inecnigeria.org page, it says 99,541.
Well, I mean, the one that is in the guidelines and so on is IREV. So, I mean, if we say 83,835. So that means now we have, officially crossed the 50% mark. I mean, of what is being, of the total that is being expected. Yes. Because total being expected is 176,606. Okay? So, again, that's gone on. Now, sometimes when people talk about allowing the process to go on, possibly by the time all these results are finally in today, tomorrow, and so on, even if it takes all the way up until Friday, at some point, that IREV will be completely populated.
Definitely.
And the role it was supposed to play.
It will still be
from day one.
From day one, it will still be expected to play. But if nobody goes there to check because it was not there 10, 15 minutes, maybe even a day or 2 or 3 after the process started, you will again be referred back to that process to say, this contention you are having, is it based on the IREF? You know, is there a discrepancy between what was presented at the National Collation Center and what is on IREF? Which is the question even some of the lawyers on some of the panels we've had have said that, look, you need to establish that, oh, okay, yes, Party A won 5 votes on IREF, but at the announcement point, you know, it won 8 votes. So where did the discrepancy come from?
Okay. Which speaks to the question that we asked Mr. Ubeche earlier about what role the political parties themselves were supposed to play in all this. Because as you said, the electoral umpire is playing its own role.
Yeah.
But the political parties are supposed to play their own role.
Definitely.
So in that light, speak to what Ladi raised.
Yes, that brings us to the issue of who should change who. If you're a political party and you don't have enough agents in all the polling units, you have to change yourself. Because it is your agent that should ensure that the INEC man, presiding officer, uploads that result. And that result that you're uploading must have your own signature, must have your own buy-in.
Let me just put you on pause there. We are hearing from the Senate, which is Nigeria's upper legislative chamber, which has resumed proceedings, same with the House of Representatives. But the Senate is urging all political actors, leaders, and all Nigerians to remain calm, law-abiding, and allow the process of collation and announcement of the results of the presidential and National Assembly elections. The upper chamber is making this call following a point of order by a federal lawmaker, Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe, on the need for calm and abiding with the rule of law on the election process in the just concluded election. Incidentally, I think Senator Oloriegbe is one of those who was a casualty of this. So, I mean, it speaks to back to the issue of the process that you mentioned. There has been a similar statement from the House of Representatives. So, I mean, we're talking more or less about the same thing from the National Assembly. And some of those people were prominent casualties. They lost in this electoral process. Quite a number of prominent people, both in the Senate and in the House, in the House, lost. So again, it goes back to, sorry I caught you short in order to say that, but it goes back to the issue of the process that you were mentioning.
Yes, I was saying that if you don't have your agents there, you have to change yourself already, because your agent ought to be the one supervising whether that document that bears the result of all the parties was uploaded, and whether it is actually reflects the voting pattern in that polling unit. It is not just about uploading. What was uploaded? Is it a mutilated one? Is it a doctored?
Is it legible?
Is it legible? Is it something I can read and I can access and read it? The legibility is also critical, because at the end of the day, I said that this is not the end of this whole show. But I'm appealing, like the Senate said, appealing to Nigerians, be calming down. Let us allow INEC to finish its job. Then the aggrieved, agitated parties cannot take it up from there. And the law has made provision for you. You have to go to the tribunal. You have to go to Court of Appeal. You have to go to the Supreme Court. So there are options for you for remediation, assuming that is what you want. Or rectification, like let me use the words of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo that you used yesterday. There are options for you to rectify what you consider a faulty process. So, but bearing arms and instigating violence is what I preach against, and I'm thoroughly against that.
Well, just to quickly remind you that we announced earlier, and you saw some pictures of that joint press conference by the PDP and the Labour Party. It's still ongoing from what we know. As soon as we have more pictures, we will definitely, better pictures and better audio, we'll definitely come back to you.
Indeed. And we've since been joined by Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, Joshua Adlobo from Abuja studios. Prof, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
Well, what we have been discussing for much of the day, much of yesterday, is that most of those who participated in the process, who are voters and so on, have become sort of like emergency lawyers because they've had to go back to the Electoral Act 2022, the Nigerian Constitution, the manual for the 2023 elections, the electoral guidelines, and so on to see exactly who erred and where. But before we get into that and tap into your knowledge and expertise of this, perhaps I should begin by asking you what you make of what has happened thus far.
First and foremost, I need to commend Nigeria for believing in the system. What is the system? In the midst of the crush, or in the midst of uncertainty, a lot of people felt that that election may not hold. Even me as a lawyer and a professor, and also a consultant to INEC, I was still making sure I asked questions to guide against what happened in 2019. When on the day of the election, it was postponed because of logistics. But with all the enormous logistic challenge for INEC to conduct this election in a peaceful manner should be commended. When I say in a peaceful manner, I'm speaking based on my empirical observation from my jurisdiction, that is Benue State, where I participated in the election. And also, for the first time, for people to even exercise their franchise without anybody saying, I'm giving you 10,000, I'm giving you XYZ amount of money. No. It was a miracle beyond description. As a person that have done much research in electoral jurisprudence in Nigeria, the bane of our polity has been money polity all this while. But it got to a point that money has failed in 2023 general election. Though I'm aware, because I'm involved in both PDP and APC, even I'm APC chieftain, but as an insider, you need to know what is happening in all the party. And that was even when led to the collapse of PDP in Benue State. Because it was only the other party that makes some logistics available in dollar. Why, as I speak up till now, because election require logistics. I was even in Benue till 6 o'clock when I got the invitation to come for this interview. For me to come down, even though I don't have private jet, you have to make, it's also part of logistics. So logistics is part of election. But now, beyond logistics, the fact that you cannot induce that most electorate in Benue, especially or the local government where I monitored the election, people were receiving less than 100 naira. Even though the main political party or stakeholder have XYZ of dollar. But those dollars were not translated to the electorate. But they still believe in change. Now, PDP was working against PDP, and that was one leg to the alienation of PDP at the governor, at the senatorial level of incumbent governor. And also incumbent senator that was former governor, His Excellency Gabriel Susan. It was unprecedented, especially Autumn, that was defeated by his SA on local government and chieftaincy affair. It showed that Nigeria have risen beyond primordial sentiment. So we should applaud what we have achieved so far in this election. If we should look at what has happened in this other state, it goes beyond any shortcoming that may be discussed later. And at the same time, we also want to bring to the notice of the Nigeria that in my polling unit, where a party that I was supporting was even leading, but because of difference of 11 votes with the Beavers, the other person protested, and I said, no, how was the 11 votes got in the first place? Who accredited him that was not captured in Beaver? The summary of it was that that polling unit result was cancelled. And as God will do it, another polling unit where another party have the highest has also overvoted. And because the agents were there to look at what was in the Beavers result vis-a-vis the declared result, that particular polling unit was also cancelled. I'm speaking based on what happened in Obi local government. I cannot speak on behalf of Oju, even though I'm from Obi Oju Federal Constituency. What am I trying to say in essence? Election where the Godfather, where those that think that they cannot do without them, were were suppressed, in quote. So what am I trying to say in essence? Nigeria have grown beyond political partisanship to loyalty. Some my friend say that they want P2B in the polling unit. That's okay. If it's P2B you want, exercise of your franchise. It's left for you to determine. In that polling unit where I come from, P2B won in that election, be local government. Ogore to be precise. What am I trying to say? This 2023 election is a watershed in Nigeria electoral jurisprudence, especially within the context of what happened in 2003, where if a day to election, name of candidate were changed and all those particular stuff during the time of Obasanjo. And in 2007, recall that the Supreme Court, under 4:3 ratio, with the case of Buhari vs. INEC, nullified the election because of no serialization of ballot box or ballot paper. So what are we trying to say? The INEC, with due respect, even though they may have one shortcoming or lacuna, have really evolved based on our rich electoral jurisprudence. And one of my book, Electoral Jurisprudence in Nigeria, I can say Nigeria have the richest electoral jurisprudence in the world, because even issues that have been settled by the Supreme Court, they still litigate on it. Who is a candidate, which have been resolved. Like one of the judges said that he doesn't know that my Benue State has taken over those Anambra in terms of litigation. So,
Prof, let me jump in.
The Federal High Court, and they were able to do everything within those short time. And even on Friday,
Prof, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you, Prof. Prof, let me interrupt you and say that basically what you're getting at is that even though there seems to be emphasis on where the shortcomings are, the fact is that in your view, at least from what you saw and observed, the process worked. The process worked because the outcomes are outcomes that we couldn't have predicted at the last elections or in elections before now. I think that point is well made, but I want to return you to what we are witnessing now, where, there are, as we are speaking now, the Labour Party, which you referenced, and the People's Democratic Party are holding a joint press conference, and they are not speaking well of the elections, because yesterday we all witnessed what their various agents did at the National Collation Center. So, to that effect, I want you to reconcile what you've just told us from what you witnessed in Benue with what is alleged to have happened on a more national level, and which is leading these other parties to protest, and in some cases to either call for a suspension or a cancellation or a review, whatever English one wants to use to describe what they are calling for, but that the process as it is, they are not happy with and they don't accept.
Yes, first and foremost, we should know that in every context, even in Benue, where I've referenced, I say I was satisfied with the result of Obi local government, and since I was not in Noju, to know whether those particular agents challenge what the result they return or not. So any person that is giving any opinion should be based on what he sees, because that's what the position of the law say. You cannot be in all the polling units. So their observation may not necessarily out of place, but when you feel that you are very successful already, that you have a lot of membership, and all of a sudden your member decide to work against you, like in Benue State, Autumn was the origin of the defeat of PDP, the alienation of PDP, because it was elected under APC in 2015. All of a sudden he came to PDP. All of a sudden, fielded to his senatorial election, he said that he's ready to sacrifice his senatorial ambition for the ambition of P2B. So at the same time, there was lack of discipline already in the political party. That's why I said that what happened in Benue, it was not the strength of APC that gave them that victory, but PDP were fighting themselves. At the end of the day, PDP is at the verge of being wiped out with all sense of responsibility. Even PDP are also not happy with the outcome of the result, because they felt that they have all it takes. But someone that feel that he was cheated in the primary felt that if I did not go, like crab mentality, that you will not go. So what I'm trying to say, we must also interrogate the stakeholders. of those parties that are fair aggrieved. Okay, for instance, like what happened in Enugu State, incumbent governor lost his seat. What happened in Plateau State, incumbent governor that is even director general of APC lost the senatorial ambition too. So what am I trying to say? Look at it now. Nasarawa SDP won the senatorial seat. So the victory cut across all political parties. So if you are not in the polling unit to know what actually happened, you will feel that the result is manipulated. But one thing I want us to bring to the domain of Nigeria, that transmission does not authenticate the validity of the election. The validity of the election starts from the polling unit, where those political parties have agents in those polling units. What was their observation when the result was entered? This is the starting point, because the Supreme Court said that it's the evidence of the polling agent that is credible, not even the work collecting agent, because it cannot be in all the political, in the ward or polling unit. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that Labour Party has even set unprecedented victory, a victory that will take years to wipe out for Labour Party to win Lagos State. It's unheard of. And it's not because Igbo were majority. There were Yorubas there. There are even Igede. There are other tribes in that place. But they just, Peter Obi was a movement. But like some of us were saying, it's not enough to build the success around an individual. Look at what happened in Osun State. That was even the presumed state of the presidential candidate of APC, even though he adopted Lagos State. But even the two states, he lost out. What am I trying to say? To show that you cannot work against yourself in a place that you have stronghold. So Nigeria should not be a whipping child if you did not favor them. You successful. I say it's not every act of INEC that is subject to public opinion. There are experts that can resolve those anomalies, especially the election tribunal, like one of the members in the Lagos said. That there are a lot of options that can be explored. But if you are not there to watch the collation, and even if you are not there, in as much as the agent have already satisfied those conditions, those documents, the end result of the beavers can also be taken like what has happened in Osun State. They are challenging in the even Osun tribunal gave victory to APC against the incumbent, even though the incumbent, Adeleke, still have right of appeal to Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. Because even like that judgment, the result was alleged to be in excess of what was in the beavers. But if you even analyze that decision, how do you know which voting go to A or B? So it's a lot of germane issue. And we should also know that INEC has made tremendous improvement. Look at what happened in 2015 when card reader was introduced to our electoral jurisprudence. Supreme Court said that no, in as much as there was no legislative backing, you cannot display the voter register. Why was the SM? Because you compare both the electronic version, which is the beavers, and the physical voter register. So that was the position in 2015. And if you look at what happened in 2011, when the Evidence Act was enacted, the issue of admissibility of documentary evidence become an issue. But now it has generated to transmission. It's left for the Supreme Court to determine whether failure to transmit promptly invalidate elections that have been duly conducted, certified, and cross-checked by the party agent and their signatory thereof. An electronic signature can also be authenticated through different means. So all I'm pleading to Nigeria, it's not a victory for any party. It's a victory for Nigeria. That you can go to any party. Once you are rooted with your people can still vote you without the godfatherism. Look at what happened in Plateau State. A PDP that is going for 5th term was still returned. Belamla, even against my own client. My own client was the candidate of APC there. He lost the election. Will I say because my client lost his Lantan South, that the election is not valid? I cannot make that conclusion until I look at the documentary evidence to see if there's rigging, overvoting, a grant to nullify the election. But you cannot be doing all this on social media. It's a threat to the corporate existence of Nigeria. Not only a threat, we were also overstretching the court system to the extent that issue that should be honorably resolved at the party level is taken because of settlement, because I spent so much, because I know so much people, I did not win, then the election is rigged. We have to ask our people, evaluate the process. The money for logistics, was it delivered? Why was this vote not achieved in XYZ? And if there's any violence in any place over voting, the electoral act is clear. That polling unit needs to be cancelled. So all I'm trying to say in essence is that it's not yet over, but let the INEC, the umpire, conduct and finish their process before you can resort to anything. Protest in the street is over. Why do I say protest in the street cannot invalidate any election, any polling unit? You can only ventilate your point or grievance through the instrumentality established pursuant to section 285 of the Constitution. And if you look at the time frame for determination of appeal, from 180 days from the date election is filed for the tribunal, 60 days for Court of Appeal, and 60 days for Supreme Court if it's the presidential and gubernatorial. So within that short period, the will of the people can prevail. There are a lot of decisions that the court has reversed, supposedly error. And at the same time, it's also a warning to the court too, that they should make sure they respect the will of the people and not to allow any manipulative tendency to say, okay, let's meet in court and we know what to do. If they can't win freely and squarely on the field, the basis of winning at the court should be justifiable. That is why section 34 of the electoral 2006, they talk about basis of changing candidate must be based on very cogent and verifiable reason. So if the court is giving judgment, the court must look at the will of the people, look at the documentary evidence, and actually come to the rightful conclusion if the grievance is justifiable.
Prof, your perspective is completely unique. Prof, your perspective is unique because not only are you talking about something that you experienced, you are also giving a précis about some of the things that people have already pointed out on the program earlier on, which is that if you don't follow the process logically to the end, and you are more emotive than rational, you're not likely to achieve the objectives at the end of the day. But Millicent, you have a question.
Well, the question I had, I wanted to make an observation, and that is when he took us through the process of, some of the evidence that is needed and cases that could occur. Election litigation is another variable, and for those who have analyzed it, they said that one of the election manipulation risks is also bringing frivolous cases to court and then all of that process. But he mentioned something about social media, how, it's more evidence-based rather than social media. And I want to come to you, Mr. Ken. And this is with social media and the journalists. Does that make our job better or worse? And this is with how the internet and the very many infodemic, the deep fakes, and all the many things that are coming up, as much as there are some positives too.
Well, I think we should draw a line between social media and journalism. The social media enthusiasts or promoters are not journalists, even though journalists use social media too.
So you don't agree with that term, citizen journalist?
No, there's no thing.
A journalist is a journalist. It doesn't have to. There's nothing like citizen journalism anyway.
There's nothing.
It's not professional. It's not known to journalists.
There's eyewitness.
It's either you are a journalist or you are not. Either you are in or you are out. It's either 1 or 0.
I just needed to pull that out for someone who say,
so
I'm a citizen
those that
journalist.
feast and feed from social media know why they go there. If you want credible information, go to a credible news outfit and get the credible information. But I like what Prof said on the issue of what we've been talking about here, the need for having agents at every polling unit for every political party. Because he said something, he's a professor of law, and he said what is admissible in court as evidence is the document from the polling unit, which your agent ought to be part of in terms of ratification and certification that this document is authentic and I have a buy-in, I agree with it. When you don't have agent there and they upload whatever they upload, It's binding on you already.
Sorry to butt in, Ken. You'll continue in just a second. One of our guests yesterday, and even another guest yesterday said, in fact, unlike what ought to be the case, many of the agents, such as you have them, even in the major political parties, many of them are transactional.
Definitely.
That is, they get paid to do agent work, and therefore they go there only because they are being paid, and not because
they are committed.
They are committed to the process and ensuring that their institution
or that they are members of that party.
Yes, that they are not members of the party. In many instances, they are not members of the party.
And that is where it's dangerous. Because somebody has collected 10K, let me just use that, can go there because they are transactional, their mentality. It's an opportunity for them to make money. And they started making the money. And when they get to that polling unit, another party comes with higher stake. Because they are not committed to you, they are not members of your party, even when they are members of your party. Because they have a mindset of making money or blowing through this process. This thing that was just a couple of days. So how much do I make from it? They will compromise. And it's not just now, it has been happening.
Many of the polling unit forms, the forms EC8A, have the party agents signing on to it.
Yes.
Even when later on in the process, you have people contesting that the figures.
Yes. But why did you sign? Did you sign a blank paper?
But your polling agent signed.
Contest the signature as well.
Sorry?
Sometimes they contest the signature.
This is not our party agent signature. I mean, again.
It's also possible. When you don't have an agent, anybody can sign for you. A baboon can sign for a monkey when the monkey is not present. So,
what are you looking at?
You know, that's actually why it is.
It's an extended version of what Jide brought in, all those
all those
it's very imperative that as a party, get your agents at every polling unit. These polling units were not created yesterday. You knew that we have 176,000 plus.
And that you were it was a requirement.
Yes, it was a requirement.
That you had to have an agent.
Yeah, you should have them. It's going to cost you money. Elections cost money. In fact, when Obama won, I remember those days, Newsweek International did a one-pager. There was a research in US. He who spends more likely to win. Probability was that if you spend more, you are more likely to win. And they tabulated the people that spent. You know, there is a more open system.
Yes.
They know what party A spent, what candidate A spent. At least, relatively they know. And they tabulated that this person spent more, and he won. This person spent more. And when you look at it, the statistics favor those, about 80% of those that who spent more won. So it's expensive.
Yeah, because the electoral process.
Speaking to what you said about the cost of presidential
election, it's enormous.
Parliamentary election.
Yeah, parliamentary is cheaper.
Okay. Well, Prof, this is where we have found ourselves now, and this process is not going to get itself done. We still have to face up to it. And, you know, part of what we had been saying earlier, some of which you have also spoken to, is to calm nerves and douse tension. Much of what we are saying here now may not be known to many people, many electorates as we speak. The political parties are right now at variance with INEC and with the ruling party on this matter. And as far as the most people are concerned, so long as Aladi mentioned this earlier, so long as it fuels a particular narrative, they go with it whether or not it is true. So how do we sift that? I know that's something that is media related for Mr. Ugbeche, but I'd like you to speak to it in the same spirit of what you've been saying to us all the while. How do we help people get these important information narratives so that our emotions can be directed in the right way in the interest of peace, unity and stability of Nigeria?
Very good. That is very fundamental. And that was what I said earlier, that the corporate existence of Nigeria as one entity, an indissoluble entity, is being threatened. The national security is being threatened. As such, every political stakeholder must look into the future. The fact that the election in a particular place did not favor your party today does not mean that process is foreclosed. There are other mechanisms of resolving the grievance. So each political stakeholder must have a way of addressing their follower or supporter, and that's what I experienced in Benue State. Somebody that they felt that he will win. When the supporter felt that he had been cheated, he said, no, that is not the end of the road. Wait, let me study, let my lawyer look into 1 or 2 documents before they advise me. So each politician that feel that they have a stake, because politics go beyond business venture, as it were, is a means of service. But Nigeria, we have downplayed the aspect of service to money making, and that is why there are a lot of bitterness. But thank God that in this election, no political party will say that I spent so much money as a result that I'm so indebted that I cannot start again. It's not so. Look at when ACN started in 2007. When Atiku Abubakar was a candidate of the AC, then the Action Congress, before in 2011 he became Action Congress of Nigeria, when Nuhu Ribadu became a candidate. So politics is evolving. Once you are in the process, get close to your people, and at the end of the day, because politics does not end in 2023, it does not end in 2027, it does not end in 2031, but if we destroy the peaceful cohesion of Nigeria, we will not wake up to see any entity called Nigeria. Look at what happened about peace and security. Kaduna, that was so peaceful. It took me more than 5 years before I could dare to travel to Kaduna for some academic activity. And even the University Greenfield that is there opposite a church, a prayer ground, was deserted. So peace is key to development. Security is everybody's responsibility. In as much as if you feel genuinely deprived, there's a way. If you witness whatever has transpired, you can volunteer as a witness to that political party. And the court has made it so much easy. There is no oral evidence that you can tender. You can tender the differential between the vote that you feel that your political party score and what was in Beavers. Then the court can come to right conclusion. That is why the electoral 2022 is a word. It has encompassed a lot of challenges in Nigeria electoral process, so that it make it easy for the petitioner not to be saddled with the unusual body, because before, once somebody read the election, we tell you go to court, because they know that the onus of proof is onerous, but that onus have been reduced on the balance of preponderance, on the balance of evidence, or probability, whatever you feel based on documented evidence. If the court sees it, authenticate and look at the difference, you can be returned. So let us trust our judicial process. And as I earlier say, the court have tried to safeguard our democracy. It's left for us as individuals to also ensure the victory for the development of our democracy. And if you look at the results, some of us are not surprised, because even the analysis in other forum before now, we say that the election of P2B and Atiku is going to give an edge to the incumbent, the political APC, because they have the same market that they are shopping for. What do I mean? When he was a running mate to Atiku, he know all the political tricks and all those particular stuff, but P2B was blessed over love. I've not seen anybody that have been loved like P2B, apart from Jesus Christ or any of these religious leaders. When he speaks, the hope that he inspires, he can also be a tool for Nigerian development. He can be a rally point to the youth. So any government that win this election should not take it as winner win all. Let's try to reach out to those that we feel that they are aggrieved before they even ventilate their grievance before the appropriate quarter, which is election tribunal. Because once election is concluded, even INEC does not have overriding power to cancel any election at collation center, except there is issue of overvoting which have been established. Then a rerun have to be conducted in those areas if the margin of winning cannot be determined simply based on the available record. If you look at what happened in Kogi State, the difference between the senator that won Natasha is just about 200 votes. So even before they brought the last local government, everybody on social media said Natasha Akpọ̀jù has already won the election. But When you read from the declaration of INEC, you discover the difference was only 200, but the margin of leading in the other local government was less than the vote from the Okene. So what I'm telling you in essence, we must be patient with the process. If actually we want an enduring democracy, every democracy requires sacrifice. Look at Obama. Obama was loved. And from the senatorial, when he was a senate, the audacity of hope gave him a lot of opportunity to be delivering paper, and before you know it, he became the first American president. So no hope is lost. And thank God that there's no age limit for anybody to become a president. The age limit is only under when you are less than 35. But in as much as you are above that age, till death do you part, you can still aspire. And God can make you to achieve your goal. So let us not look desperate. Let not look downcast as if we have reached the end of the road. Every end is a beginning for you to re-strategize and become a better person. Let's get close to the community that want to lead. Let's feed their yearning, their need, their demand. It's only an election period that you can give them a market and all those particulars. That is what the electorate are protesting now. They say that you come in a convoy, but they cannot access good route. Just imagine Oweto, if it was not David Mark, Senator, former Senate President, and with the help of the incumbent President that completed that road, there's no way I could make an appointment from Otukbo within 7 o'clock to be in Abuja. What am I trying to say? Every government must invest massively on infrastructure, massively, so that anybody can become whoever he wants to be without necessary connection to the government.
Okay.
So the emphasis of making government as a gold mine should be de-emphasized.
Professor Alaba said that, Barack Obama was loved. So was Donald Trump,
Yeah, but by different groups.
So was Awolowo.
He was president at the point.
There's so much love.
I want to take the discussion to reverse, where we appear to have a situation, and one wonders, if that situation persists, how that could affect the whole collation process in the nation's capital, and that is the scope, the adjourning collation, pending when INEC can address some of the misinformation and security issues which he mentioned there. And so my question is, legally, what could happen if he still insists and refuses due to threat on his life? What happens in that situation? Will another scope be appointed? How do you think INEC should handle that?
And foremost, history is always a guide. And like what happened during 2019 collation by Edda Rubebe of the Minister of Niger Delta, that is the tactic that is also adopted by even the same party, PDP. So, in as much as the relevant body that will authenticate the document have signed, that result become valid. And this is also time for the government to make sure that the life of those individuals